Yes guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the Spurs Talk Show. We just finished the game here. Tottenham Hotspur 3, Burnley 0. I mean, what more could you want from today's outcome apart from potentially misreading the weather forecast and predicting a little bit of rain? I wouldn't be wearing this otherwise. But either way, guys, it's been a wonderful day. We're sat in the East Stand Premium. Johnny treated myself, and he brought along Ricky Sachs from Last Word on Spurs. It was a fantastic afternoon, a little bit of hospitality and a couple of beers, and we got to watch. It was a very comfortable game. I'll be entirely honest, before the game started, I said to you guys, I thought that, we would win 3-0, maybe 4-0, something like that. I think I said 3-0, but I didn't expect it to quite be the way it was. I thought if it got to 0-0 at half time, then the kind of squeaky bum time might have presented themselves. It didn't happen that way. We did get the early goal. Richalison once again proving myself and a lot of his doubters wrong. Absolutely phenomenal, sensational performance from him today. We'll come to those goals in a minute, but we got the first goal and then Tottenham seemed to kind of sit off. I thought that if we were going to get the first goal, we would actually sort of kick on immediately. The early goal would have meant that Burnley had to come out, and then we would have just sort of taken them and run the gauntlet and made them have to suffer the consequences of such throughout the first half. If we got to half time and it was 0-0, it would have been squeaky bum time, and then hopefully we could have sort of snatched something at the end. But if I'm entirely honest, the first goal came very early. We looked dominant, there was lots of opportunities, but then we sat back. We sort of sat back and we allowed Burnley to get back into it. They had a couple of good opportunities, if I'm entirely honest, and they didn't look anything like the kind of relegation fodder, the sort of relegation candidates that I think that most people would have had them down for. I was a little bit nervous as we progressed through the first half. However, in the end, we got through to half time 1-0 down, or 1-0 up. And as the second half sort of transpired, Tottenham Hotspur just went into another gear. And I think that must be down to something that Thomas Frank said at half time, like, stop resting on your laurels. The game isn't done. They're very much still in it. We need that second goal. And we went into a second gear. And if I'm entirely honest, guys, some of the goals that were scored today were just absolutely sensational. So I've already spoken about Richalison's first one. Brennan Johnson, who was largely, for my part, ineffectual in the first half, kind of forgettable, back to the same old sort of story with regards to Brennan Johnson. If you're not doing much other than the output, where's the input to qualify your value? I think that the question mark is still there, but his second goal, our second goal, his first goal, was taken with absolute supreme confidence. The ball was sort of, I think was it Pedro Porro? I forget, forgive me if I'm wrong on any of the hazy moments here. The ball that was placed into him was sensational. He had the run, he had the sort of time and the space to run in behind. He took it confidently, and then as he approached the goalkeeper, and the goalkeeper comes out to try to sort of surround him, just pokes it past him. But this is what we come to expect from Brennan Johnson. Like the sum, it does not equal the parts necessarily, not necessarily in the right order either. Sometimes he's the sort of guy, it doesn't have to be back post Johnson. Sometimes he can do very little, but if you put the ball into him in that moment, he has that ability to convert things with a super high frequency, and just that's the value, I guess. I think a lot of people have been asking me, sending me messages. In fact, today, loads of people have been coming up to me saying, what do you think about the season, Sean? What are we doing about Richalison? What are we doing about Johnson? What are we doing about yada, yada, yada? When it comes to Johnson, there hasn't been any links with anyone with regards his exit. He's staying at Tottenham Hotspur, and you can understand why, given his output last season. But if Tottenham are going to be signing a Savinho, who's a young player that plays for the large part in his position, then you have to kind of think, well, where's the space going to be, right? You've got Udogie, you've got Mathys Tel, and you have Johnson, and you might have Savinho, all four of whom are probably going to be left wing guys in a world where Kudus stays fit, because once again, Kudus today was exceptional. His ability to bring the ball down, his ability to be an outlet, his ability to drive and run and control and technical, the guy is insane. Like, I can't... I've had a few beers, but I can't stress enough how much value and what a difference maker Kudus is as an outlet. And I'm not just talking about long ball clearances like against PSG, where he was the best player on the pitch in that regard, but his ability to even sort of just be in the right place to be able to connect the sort of dots. He's not known for his passing. I've even called it out. I've said to you guys, I feel like if we're going to sign an Eze and a Savinho and a Kudus, and that's the three behind Solanke or Richalison, and I'm going to come to Richalison in a moment, if that's the kind of three, there's a question mark regarding who it is that's going to be the connector. Well, I'll be entirely honest, in the game against PSG and the game today, there was no question marks around that. There's no question marks, and this is probably a reason why the stats don't always need to be the reason for your opinion. They can support your opinion, but the eye test has to be the eye test, and Kudus, in his ability to link up the play, was extraordinary. So Johnson's second goal pretty much put the game to bed, in my opinion. But Richarlison, the third goal that he scored, or his second goal, the third goal that we scored for us, it was reminiscent of his World Cup overhead boot. It was pretty much exactly the same thing, slightly different setup, but essentially gets a little bit of space, ball's a little bit behind him, a confident Richarlison equals value. And again, I'm not attached to my opinions to the point where I'm going to sit there and find a reason to sit there and defend my take. I haven't felt like for the last 2 or 3 years that he was the guy. I was never a massive fan of him before he came to Tottenham, when he was at Everton and elsewhere beforehand. In the last 180 minutes of football that I've seen, he was the best player on the pitch, and certainly the man of the match today, and arguably one of the men of the match in the PSG game. It's a new version of Richie, someone who clearly is slightly more confident in his own body and clearly has more than a slight desire to prove his point. He wants to be the number 9, and I think he sort of stole the march again today. I think Dominic Solanke has to step up to be able to claim that spot back. I don't think when Solanke gets back to full 90 minutes, I don't think it's a clear cut case right now who it is that gets those minutes. Richarlison was sensational today. Once again, output is what matters, but input's important too. And Richarlison was sensational. And the second goal, it screams of a guy that has confidence and that wants to prove a point. And if his body can hold up, then you know what? I don't know what to say. You know how I feel, but ultimately, prove me wrong. I'm happy to be proven wrong if it's in the betterment of Tottenham Hotspur, and 100% well done to him. The other person I haven't mentioned today, Pape Sarr. I thought Pape Sarr was extraordinary again. So good in breaking play, so good in anticipation, so good in the interpretation and the interception of certain sort of situations. I thought the guy was sort of close to his best version of himself again. Defensively, got him getting back and doing the things that we've come to learn from him, and getting forward and bringing the play. Look, it wasn't a brilliant overall performance from Tottenham. What it was brilliant in moments against the team that had their chances when we were 1-0 up, but the fact they didn't take them allowed us to kick on, and we took our chances. And I'm very, very excited for what Thomas Frank can bring to this team this season. In the back line, I thought Romero, Van der Ven, Jed Spence and Pedro Porro, for the most part, did well when they had the ball, progressing the ball forward. I thought Van der Ven was pretty interesting with the way he was trying to drag the ball forward in the second half. Romero was lovely with his passes as usual. Pedro Porro always moving the ball and progressing the ball forward. Jed Spence, look, I'm not going to sit here and say he had a bad game. I didn't think he had a bad game at all. Thought he was clever with his progression, but it was when the opportunities fell for him. Unless I'm mistaken, I have had a few beers, so forgive me. I will always reserve the right in these initial moments to get my initial thoughts out to you, and then tomorrow morning I'll come back out with a more measured response once I've got home, once I've sort of seen the detailed replays. But from my perspective, and what our perspective was, sitting on the halfway line on the east stand, I literally was on the paint, right? So I feel like I had a better perspective than maybe even Daniel Levy if he was here today. But I just thought that it felt comfortable from the get-go. It really did. I thought the substitutions were great, and I think that the players that we're looking forward to see more from, they're starting to bring their value, and the players that have come in are having an immediate impact. It never really felt like there was any jeopardy today from Tottenham once the first goal went in, apart from that sort of 25-minute spell between us scoring and about 5 minutes before the end of the first half. Second half was all Tottenham. it became a fait accompli. A lovely start to Tottenham's season. And look, I think it's at least reasonable at the time of saying this that Richarlison's top goal scorer. This man looks like a new man. Looks like he's reinvented. He has confidence in his body, and he's someone that, if you can get the best version out of him on a consistent level, then I'm more than happy to take the mud, and I'm sure I'm going to get some from like Adam and other people in the WhatsApp group. And that's fine, by the way, absolutely fine. The guy did very well today. I thought Pape Sarr was very, very good. I thought Kudus was extraordinary again. Lucas Berghvall, I think he was sort of getting himself amongst it, but I don't think he has necessarily kicked on just yet from the levels that we saw him before his injury, so that takes a little bit of time to get back. The substitutions when they came on, I thought Udogie is trying to prove a point. He's trying to kind of show some energy. Didn't get too many chances. When he did, he overran a little bit, but there's no criticism really for me there. In terms of Mathys Tel, same sort of thing. Bless him. I think he should have got a better round of applause, a better appreciation when he came on, given what he's gone through. Well, hopefully that will come in the next game. I think it's Bournemouth at home, Manchester City away first. And apart from that, I don't know what to say. Bentancur again was okay when he was involved today. I feel that when you pivot from the big game that happened on Wednesday in a different system, a different style, a completely different opposition, a different calibre, you had to travel home on Wednesday night. Thursday would have been a rest day. So yesterday they would maybe have done half-pace training straight into today to go and get 3-0 against the team that everyone expects us to win. But there's jeopardy, there's always risk, there's always a little bit of kind of the opportunity for things to go awry. Well, look, we sort of rid those, or we rode those moments at the end of the first half, and the second half Tottenham just sort of took control of the game, and it was competent, it was composed, and it was comfortable. And for me personally, guys, I'm very, very happy having watched that. I've had a really great day. I've had a few beers, so again, like I say, I'm going to get into more detail tomorrow when I wake up with a headache. I'll brush the headache off with some Evian, and I'll come out with some live stream stuff. But for me, the only question marks I have, I've got to be honest, I have to be a little bit critical. I still think that Vicario doesn't command his area. He doesn't seem to offer me any confidence. And I don't really want to be critical, but it's a concern. I look around the team right now, and I'm thinking about where we're looking in the transfer market with regards to Eze. Hopefully that will get done. There's rumours out that we're getting close there. We're a couple of million away. Savinho, there's rumours that we're getting close there. And the only question mark with regards to that stuff is how do you find space in the minutes schedule for a Tel and an Udogie? They're all young guys. Savinho's going to be a young guy. Should one of Tel or Udogie maybe go out on loan? Possibly. We'll talk about that tomorrow. But for all intents and purposes, if we can go and get an Eze and a Savinho, I'll tolerate, like this version of Richalison, I'll be okay with. Solanke, I know will get better. I think we can be okay, right? But at the very bottom of the team, if you're going to ask me right now, like, am I confident in Vicario? And my answer is no. And then you would follow that up with, and then should we be playing Kinsky? My answer would be the same. I'm still not confident with him either. I don't think Tottenham are going to make any areas of improvement in that regard. But I have to be honest, I think a goalkeeper, a big-time goal filler, a threat killer goalkeeper that can claim the ball with confidence, that's positionally astute, that doesn't bark at the defence every time that there's an opportunity. Like, it just doesn't feel like, it feels a bit of like a, I don't know how to say this, it feels like it's fake outrage to cover up from the lack of confidence that he has in himself. And I think the same thing could be probably attributed to Kinsky as well. So I'm not confident in our goalkeeper. And if you don't have confidence in your goalkeeper, then you should always have a lacking in security in your own perspective, your own mind around how comfortable can you ever be in certain scenarios. Either way, we won the game. 3-0. Richarlison's top goal scorer. I think at this stage Tottenham are also top of the table, even though it's one game, and it's a wonderful day. Wonderful day. I'll come back later on with some more thoughts, but for now, guys, thank you so much for listening. Like, subscribe and comment, and I'll see you on the next one. And as always, come on, you Spurs.